right, so that's the Prime Minister. He always does this. Right at the end. Right at the end of Republic Day celebrations, acknowledging the crowds that have come in. People have come in from all across the country to witness what is the celebration today of marking 77 years of being a republic. The affection there of the Prime Minister waving to the crowds reciprocated by the crowds as well, waving right back. You know, everyone I know as a young kid, at some point of time, you know, you would have wanted to be there in person, while of course the parade is beamed live across the country, but every kid or every individual at some point of time wanted to be right here and witness this in person. And those who have made that trip to come to Delhi and witness the Republic Day celebrations being acknowledged there by the Prime Minister, taking the walk on Kartavya Path, waving to the crowds there and making his way to his cavalcade. So that's the Prime Minister there. But Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, to bring you in, because a lot of emphasis today was how, you know, the rules of warfare have changed, the language of weaponry is different, and we saw that in full display today.
No, you're very right, Preeti. But one aspect that, you know, it clearly reflects the technological advancements that we have made, you know, apart from new way of fighting, new weapon system, all talking about the progress of Indian technology. And if you saw the naval tableau very carefully, it had the 5th century stitched ship, Kundania, which belonged to the Maratha Navy, and it was a Gurab class frigate at that time. And starting from there, you see aircraft carrier indigenous, that model, Project 17 Alpha, you know, the Nilgiri variety, and coming right up to the GSAT 7R, that new satellite that has gone for the communication of the naval ships. And it has also reflected, you know, the circumnavigation of the sailing ships by the two girls. So I think that, you know, it's a really, that really sums up the India's really, you know, the progress from what we look culturally and what we can do. So it's a big march on the, shall I say, the technological side. It's one prowess. You mentioned 3-4 of them. And one, I would say, very big takeaway, while we are rooted in our history, we are also up and about in technology. Right up to this place.
100%. You know, the sophistication of war technology, something that was on display during Operation Sindoor, was celebrated today, because so much was said at that point of time, viewers, in terms of, and that was the reason we saw limited amount of casualties on our side, because our weaponry was so sophisticated. And what the silver lining, or rather, you know, what was most important in all of that, Sandeep, was that it was indigenous, Atmanirbhar, made in Bharat.
Absolutely. Preeti, and you know, the choices that we've made in the past, like the Air Force, for instance, the IACCS is something that the Air Force had conceived 3 decades ago, and they had slowly worked upon it, and it was proved finally that investment bore fruit in 2025, where a lot of foreign countries were surprised that India had such a sophisticated air defense network, and which could literally, you know, drones and missiles were bouncing off this network. And, you know, Pakistan did launch a ballistic missile at us. It was shot down by this network. So there are those hidden strengths that India doesn't tom-tom about. The BrahMos was another such choice that we made way back in 2001 when we decided to go in for this missile acquisition. And that has borne fruit again during Operation Sindoor in 2025. So all of these investments, these joint ventures, all of these that we have come to the fore in Operation Sindoor, and that is actually, you know, what we saw on display here today, Atmanirbhar Bharat in full flow.
You know, Atmanirbhar Bharat in full flow, marking 150 years of Vande Mataram, and that is where, you know, our past, the old, meets the new. Rooted in Vande Mataram, one song that united
Waiting to the engines of any democracy, it's driving.
And today, when you look ahead, Atmanirbharta, where we are self-reliant, all of it coming together beautifully. Visuals of the Prime Minister, he always does this, which is to connect with the crowds after he does it post Independence Day celebrations and always after Republic Day celebrations, taking to Kartavya Path, waving to the crowds there. For the last 5 minutes, he's walked up and down the ramparts of Kartavya Path, waving to the crowd, some of them who've come in from all across the country to witness this historic, iconic celebration. And the Prime Minister acknowledging that and waving to the crowd's back. You know, a lot has been said about his headgear, but if Sandeep, something, you know, or someone who possibly stole the spotlight from the Prime Minister's Safa would possibly be our chief guest, Ursula, wearing, you know, an Indian brocade Banarasi kurta.
Absolutely, spectacularly. And, you know, it was, it's possibly she had planned for this well in advance, and she knew exactly what she was going to be wearing. And that was a statement there as well. India, EU, and that outfit, that spectacular outfit that she wore today, you know, a symbolism that will, you know, echo for several years, Preeti. And that those pictures, they've already gone across the world, that India and the EU have decided to shake hands ahead of that big momentous trade deal that we are talking about, 27th of January. And these are two big events. 26th of Jan, of course, we saw the parade, the symbolism, and tomorrow is going to be the actual brass tacks.
Yeah, the brass tacks of it all. So the President Ursula von der Leyen, you know, the European Commission President, wearing that brocade Banarasi kurta, only adding to the goodwill of, you know, the optics of it all, of what you see. And tomorrow is going to be the brass tacks of it all. Sandeep is bang on, and I think one of the biggest takeaways of that is the optics of the Prime Minister and both the chief guests, be it the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen or the European Council President Antonio Costa, standing on one platform, the Prime Minister constantly speaking with them, explaining to them on what they're actually witnessing in terms of the culture, the diversity of India, the contingents marching. But the optics were very, very strong.
The optics
and
were
he's broken away
indeed
from protocol.
He's broken away from protocol because it's just the President who stands and takes the salute. That's the SOP during Republic Days. But today we also saw the Prime Minister standing and, you know, ensuring that his EU guests were well looked after, and he was literally, you know, taking them through all the intricacies of not just the tableaus but also the weapon platforms. And I could, you know, read the Prime Minister's lips. He seemed to know a lot about those platforms, and he was explaining to them what each one did. For instance, the drones and, you know, the new artillery systems. He seemed to know a lot about those. He'd researched them clearly, and he's telling the EU guests what to expect. Because defense, Preeti, as we discussed, is a very, very key pillar of the India-EU engagement. Some very big deals, not just the Rafales, but the German submarines as well, that which Germany is going to bring to India for the Project 75 India. That's another very big you know, deal as well. So it is not just trade, it's not just commerce, it's electronics, semiconductors, it's automobiles, but also defense.
Also defense, and we have three experts with us. It's a privilege to have all three of them in the studio. And Air Marshal Sanjeev Kapoor, you wanted to add to that conversation, sir?
Yes, I just wanted to say in the last part, one biggest takeaway is getting of the highest Peacetime Gallantry Award to Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla.
True.
It opens up a huge, huge scope for the young boys and girls of this country to explore space as a new frontier, and each warfare as the time unfolds is going to be space-based. So there's a huge opportunity here for all the young boys and girls who are watching this program, that space is the new frontier now.
Well, you're right there. Space is a new frontier now, and Group Captain Shukla is going to be part of the Gaganyaan mission, and was very excited about that when we had spoken to him earlier on. But Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, you want to come in on, you know, how, like we pointed out earlier, the language of weaponry has changed, the rules of engagement are different right now, and a lot of that was, we could see it today on the display of our weaponry.
Quite right. You know, all three services, if you see the progress that we have made is phenomenal, and you don't get many opportunities, and I hope that we don't get so many opportunities to actually use it. And you have to be strong to deter a war. And they say that, why are you buying this? Are you expecting a war? No, we must have it so that we don't have a war. I think a strong armed forces actually can prevent war rather than creating a war. So this is the message that I would like to carry on.